Let's go and hit on the cameras. Now, as I mentioned before, dual camera setup on the iPhone 10, wide angle lens and a telephoto lens. The OnePlus 9, on the other hand, has that wide angle lens, ultra wide sensor, and a color filter camera. Now, I've said this for a while too. I think the iPhone 10's camera isn't bad, but it definitely is a little bit dated. So first of all, you do have that dual camera setup, which is good. Telephoto lens as well. You can do 4K at 60 on the back of this lens, which I'm glad at. That's awesome. But you can only do 1080p at 30 on the front. That can definitely age this camera. But on something like the OnePlus 9, you still can only do 1080p at 30 as well, and that's a brand new phone. So that gives me more respect for something like an iPhone 10, to be honest. Zooming in and out, you have the same capability on this phone for the most part as you do on something like an iPhone 12, but this camera is still fairly solid. It's a pretty decent camera. It's definitely grainy, it's definitely not the best, but I think for the age that it is, it's actually pretty decent. Now, compared to something like the OnePlus 9, you do have 8K capability on the back of this camera, which I think is actually extremely cool to see. Again, it's not like the best camera out this year, I don't think, but it's still a very decent lens for this thing. Only 1080p at 30 on the front camera, which, as I mentioned before, is kind of an L. I'm not a huge fan of it, but again, it's like, what are you going to do about it? You do have that telephoto or the ultra wide sensor for the most part, so you can zoom out a lot versus zooming in a lot on the iPhone 10. And I think overall this camera is probably better. I don't think it's like miles better, but if I had to choose one, I would rather have the OnePlus 9. But I still think something like an iPhone 12 Pro has a better camera here. And I don't know, I'm not a fan of this UI. I really think they could have done a better job. But as I mentioned before, there's nothing we can do about it. They're not going to go and maybe they'll push out an update and fix it. But as of right now, this is pretty much where we're at right now. So I think the OnePlus 9 has a better camera between this and the iPhone 10. But the iPhone 10 is like almost a 4-year-old phone. What are you going to do about it? So